Well, welcome. Board member
you.
Barbara Hockett is
Thank
with
you.
us. Thank you. Can I call you Barbara?
Please.
Yeah, you know what? I know you just like being called Barbara because that's how everyone knows you. Barbara.
That's my first name, Emily. What can I say?
But your title is board member, so I want to give you the credit for that.
Yes,
Congratulations,
right.
you recently won an election. But first, tell me a little bit about Barbara.
Well, okay, so raised in a Navy family, moved 27 times. So yeah, newness was pretty much familiar to me. And I actually continued moving after my dad retired from the Navy, and I've moved a few times. Lived in Egypt a couple of years. My background is, I have a Bachelor of Science in Nursing and a Master of Science in Education. And currently I teach community health nursing for Cal State East Bay.
So this is your second time on our board. You hadn't had enough, you had to come back for more. Talk a little bit about that. When were you first on our board, and what was your desire to come back and run for the Central San Board of Directors?
I was first asked if I would be interested in running for the Central San Board in 1992.
Wow.
I received a phone call, would you believe, from two Central San employees, and asked if I'd be interested in running for the board, and I said, the what? Because you know what? Wastewater isn't something that's really familiar to way too many people.
True.
So I asked if I could have 24 hours to think about it, and decided that because I was a nurse and I was teaching nursing, I thought that it would be a fit because wastewater is the foundation of public health nursing. And I've always been impressed with what I found at Central San when I first ran. And after serving 20 years and losing my election in 2012, I thought that was it for me. But you know, Emily, once you have the passion and you love the people, and you know that wastewater is incredibly important, it's just hard to forget that. And so the feeling always stayed with me. And I felt connected to the industry and decided this last year to run again.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
It's been a little while, but not too long, and you glutton for punishment, as they say, right?
No.
20 years wasn't enough.
No.
That's wonderful. So you have this background in nursing and public health. How does that offer a unique perspective for the board of directors?
Well, you know, the district is more than engineering. It's much more than engineering. You know, we oftentimes walk around and think that we are in the wastewater industry, but you know what? It's the people business. And it's the foundation of public health. And I believe I bring a different perspective, one probably based on my gender, but also one based on my experience with people in the healthcare industry. And I see the vision of Central San as being much more broad than engineering. And that's the reason why I also ran again, because I think you need a breadth of perspective in order to serve the people that we represent.
So you've mentioned this before. We're much more than engineering. I know that there is a program that Central San runs that's very near and dear to your heart, which is our pharmaceutical collection program. Tell me how that came about. That came about during your initial term on the board. I know you have all the background. Share that with us, because that was a big, big opportunity, but it took some folks with some vision like yourself to put that in place.
Well, you know, I guess when I was working for John Muir Physician Network, I would see patients in their home within 24 to 48 hours of their discharge. And I would go and visit them and bring their discharge summary, and I would do a cross match of the list of their medications with what they really had at home. And I found a lot of discrepancies. And then I also came across a lot of people who were hoarding drugs. And it's not safe for them or people they live with because diversion is too easy. And I had an opportunity to go to a Water Environment Federation conference in Chicago. And I went to a presentation on endocrine disruptors in the wastewater. And it impacted me because I know that in the past, people were flushing their pharmaceuticals down the toilet.
They even still do now. Please
Yes.
don't do that.
No,
but
they
even still
do.
now.
And it wasn't okay. And so when
And just to clarify for our folks, our wastewater treatment process doesn't take out pharmaceuticals. That's not what it's meant to do. It's meant to clean, basically sewage. So.
That's right, and that was going to be the biggest challenge, because how do you make a difference with that? It would have cost millions of dollars to retrofit the plant to filter out those substances. And so I thought it makes much more sense to just keep them out of the water. And I decided to call Sue Rainey, who was on the Walnut Creek City Council. And we met for lunch, and I told her I had this idea of trying to prevent pharmaceuticals from being disposed of in our water. And would she be interested in partnering and trying to figure out how we might do a mail-back program using Walnut Creek City as a pilot? She said she would take it to her city attorney and pose the question. She called me back and she said, you know what, that's an awesome idea. Let's see how we can start it. And so that's how it began. I had a couple of meetings with Sue Rainey, their attorney, and it finally grew, and we invited the police department. And that's when we learned they would prefer not to go to the post office to pick up drugs, that we needed to figure out another way. And so doing some more homework, I decided that we could maybe set up a drop-off in the city of Walnut Creek inside the police department in a bin, and maybe that would be a more economical way for it to start. So it grew. We invited the DEA. As I said, the police department, a person from John Muir joined us. And there were a lot of other people who were very interested in doing this. And it was decided that Walnut Creek would like to be the pilot. And so at that point, I decided to meet with Jim Kelly at the time, who was our general manager. And I shared what I was doing with him. I actually had shared it with him prior to that, and he swore to keep it a secret for me. But at that point, it was going to become a pilot, and Central Sand should be involved. And so Jim decided to present it to the board as a pilot, and the board voted to participate.
Well, and this was back when no one was doing this.
That's right.
We were so ahead of the curve that you were laying a great foundation for a successful program that's been years now in
right,
operation.
but there was still some skepticism.
Sure.
Because it was
something new, right?
And it was big because what do we have? 500,000 ratepayers, and you also want it to be secure. You don't ever want to read in the newspaper that pharmaceuticals were diverted from the program. And so I was lucky, I think, in that the Safe Drug Disposal Act was proposed in Congress, and they voted for it, which meant that pharmaceuticals could now be taken from someone's home by someone else, like a family member or a caregiver, and disposed of properly. And so that, in partnership with the drop-off program, was a real gift for our population, because now there was a safer way for them to manage the pharmaceuticals that they were hoarding and weren't going to use at home.
And now we've diverted over 100,000 plus tons, pounds, I should say it.
Right.
It feels like tons.
Yes.
Of these little pills that could cause, enormous damage to aquatic life, and, it's just not proper to deal with that. So
Correct.
Thank you for that. And it's still, we have over a dozen sites now, all
Yes.
over the service area for
Right.
Central San, and so
Right.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So you've been to a lot of board meetings. Let's not count how many between your former
Right.
time on the board and your current time on the board.
Correct.
I think some folks would think a wastewater agency's board meetings are dull. Is that true?
Do you know what? It could be true unless you know the incredible work that Central San does. You see, so the position papers that I get to read are incredibly well written and very detailed. And so that actually makes reading what the district is trying to propose very easy. And it's very easy to understand. But I think if you don't have the passion and the understanding of the industry, you could maybe have the perception that it was boring. But when you see the work that's being done and the work that's being proposed and all the innovations, it's incredibly exciting. And as I said, I have passion for the industry and passion for Central San and its employees. So it's really an awesome pleasure for me to be able to participate on this board and watch the district grow. So no, for me, it's very exciting, and it's very educational. It's a wonderful experience.
The pandemic, unfortunate, incredibly unfortunate, has brought public health kind of front and center. What is Central San's role in that? What can we do to help communities become healthier?
Central San, because it's the foundation of public health, and because we're so savvy, we're participating in the COVID testing in wastewater throughout our county.
Talk to me about that.
Oh, it's an awesome partnership with UC Berkeley and Stanford. And so what happens is there are several wastewater districts in this partnership that do sampling of the wastewater for COVID. So the virus, actually the RNA, the leftovers, if you would, of the virus are detected in wastewater. And so the sampling is taken to a laboratory at UC Berkeley and analyzed, and there are other laboratories also in the country that are doing this. And what is so awesome about this program is that you can detect COVID in wastewater 3 to 7 days before an outbreak is detected in a community.
So you can actually see the virus, and then what's the purpose of that?
Well, because you want to be able to predict, you want to be able to anticipate, and in fact, a fabulous example of this is a sampling that was done right outside of a college dorm in another county.
Okay.
And what happened was they detected COVID in the wastewater. And because they were able to detect it, they were able to notify all of the students living in the dorm, and they were subsequently tested. And there was one positive COVID student in that dorm. And no others got COVID because they were able to isolate him, and it didn't spread.
So it was that early warning system that could really keep folks safe.
Yes, it's awesome.
So we know that President Biden has mentioned he wants to put forward and has, I think, a $2 trillion infrastructure package. Infrastructure is all the talk. Central San has a lot of infrastructure. As you know, we've got a 54 million gallon per day treatment plant. Is that all, right? We have, I think, 18 pump stations.
1,500 miles of pipes in the ground. No, it's incredible.
It's incredible.
Yes.
A giant outfall that goes to Sassoon Bay.
Exactly.
Where do we fit into the need for infrastructure replacements?
Well, I think actually we're an example of how well to do it because we manage our pipes in the ground. We have incredible schedules to replace them, repair them, and inspect them. And we're always implementing new innovations to help reduce costs and protect the environment at Central San. And right now, we are on an adventure for the next 30 years to do replacements, repairs, and more innovations at our treatment plant. So it's an awesome opportunity, and I hope others in our country join in because there is lots to do.
There is lots to do. And you're always doing it, right? If
Absolutely. Yeah.
What would be something that people would be surprised or shocked to learn about Central San?
That we treat wastewater. I
What
mean,
is
it's like,
wastewater?
it's so amazing. You can even listen to the Central San Academy,
Right.
okay? And people who have attended the academy. And you will still hear the question, what about your water rates? And are we going to be cutting back using our water, in other words, potable water? And that's not what we do here.
So I'm going to put you on the spot. Tell folks what wastewater is.
Wastewater is everything that this treatment plant treats that people put down their drains.
Okay.
And so it's your laundry, it's your kitchen, it's your toilet, it's all of those places that are connected to your house that receive water that you've used.
Washing machines?
Absolutely.
Dishwashers? All of it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Everything. And by the time the wastewater treatment plant receives it, it is traveled sometimes a very long way, like from San Ramon to the treatment plant. And it can take 8 hours for that to happen.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, but it eventually gets here. We treat it. We have incredible innovations like the utilization of, I just lost the name.
UV.
UV, sorry, ultraviolet light,
Mm-hmm.
which is fabulous for treating wastewater because it reduces the amount of chemicals that are used in our treatment process.
And we're actually basically eliminating any DNA or any other bad things that shouldn't be in your wastewater as part of
Right.
that disinfection program.
Right.
Okay.
And we actually do it so well that we also are able to purvey recycled water that's treated a little differently coming out of our wastewater treatment plant. And we deliver that to median sections, DVC, golf courses.
Yeah, for landscape
Absolutely.
and for
Yeah.
industrial uses.
Right.
and-
So we can reduce the need for potable water or drinking water and save that for households.
Right. Okay, so you're raising a toast to our 75 years. We look fantastic for, right? No, Central San's turning 75. Now tell me, what would you say if you were toasting Central San?
Here's to the future and the 100% that we always receive in acknowledging our wastewater treatment process and all of the incredible high standards that we're able to maintain, and to the awesome employees that make it all happen.
Thank you for coming out today, Board Member Hockett, also known as Barbara.
Thank you.
We love having you on our board. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you.